Battlefield 2042 developers have finally opened up about the state of the game and their plan to fix it. However, future content is getting delayed significantly in order to do so. Hey guys, LevelCap here, and DICE just announced Battlefield 2042's first content update has been delayed to the summer. Remember back when we thought March was a bit long for the first map for the game? I wish I could go back and live in those times. However, between now and then, they'll be releasing updates that will include new features like a proper scoreboard with a split team layout and kill-death ratio. They're also going to add all-platform voice communication, a full-featured player profile so you can track your stats, a refined ping system for squad communication, improved squad play objective rewards, gunplay tweaks, new portal tools, and potentially big changes to the specialist, which they haven't yet detailed. As part of the rollout to these updates, DICE will be making public feedback posts for players to respond to on the topics like improved map design and portal logic. Previous communications by DICE placed the next major update for this game at the later end of this month. However, they now say it'll roll out in early March. That update should include some or all of the previously mentioned changes. And as for Season 1, well, our generally expected launch date was in early March based on some speculation surrounding leaks and data mining. In DICE's attempt to ease the pain of the player base regarding Season 1's massive delay, Gold and Ultimate Edition owners are getting the Steadfast exclusive Legendary Bundle. It includes the Zero Resistance skin for Mackay, a Grasshopper skin for the K30, and a Rapid Hammer skin for the Revolver, an Iron Chariot skin for the Bolt, a new melee weapon called the Big Tickler, a new player card, and a new player card icon. Now, obviously this news is a lot to take in, and I'm not saying there's a lot of news to take in, but the meaning behind it is a lot to take in. 2042's extremely problematic launch shook confidence in the game, and its player base has continued to dwindle since. Players seem desperate for both new content and major overhauls to key areas of the game. And DICE's current strategy is to push back the new content until they can make those quality of life overhauls. And while it does make sense to put a priority on fixing the core mechanics of a game before injecting new content, I don't think anybody's particularly happy about the timeline for when we're getting our first new injection of actual content. The vast majority of big games these days launch with new maps or content in their first quarter after launch. It could be 6 months or even more until we get a new map for 2042, and that would be the longest wait for new content in the modern history of the franchise. And as is no surprise to anybody, players on social media and Reddit are not happy about the delay. Many feel like it is too little and too late. For now, the game's player base on Steam is holding at around 4,000 to 5,000 concurrent players per day. Of course, that doesn't take into account players on Origin or consoles, and the leaks have suggested that the game has around 50,000 active players per day, but it's tough to say if those numbers will hold until summer. Now, regarding the stuff that DICE says that they're actually working on for the quality of life improvements to the game, it all sounds exactly on point. People have been requesting specialist reworks, map updates, and key features being added to the game. Addressing these points quickly should be the priority for DICE, and it seems like that's where their focus is. The scoreboard, all-platform VoIP, and player profile updates are launching ASAP according to DICE's blog post. They buried the map updates in the section about their new feedback loop, so those changes are probably coming well after next month's update. The new scoreboard will be a refined version of the one that they revealed last week. DICE are taking the feedback on that preview under consideration for launch. They're working on having it to show both teams separately before the update goes live. Following that, they'll be adding a kill to death ratio stat and improved end of round reporting. This month, we'll be getting at least one hotfix that addresses the game's stability issues to some degree. Now, whenever DICE's first batch of new content drops during the summer, that will initiate the first year of seasonal content. In total, we can expect 4 major updates for Season 1. Each update will offer one new specialist, new guns, maps, and more. Data mining by Temporeal suggests that the first new map coming to the game is set in Canada. He posted his findings in late December, which suggested that it would launch in March based on the number of weekly missions hidden in the game files. The map is referred to as Exposure and features a research base attacked by hostile forces. And it's unclear if this is still going to be the first map that we're getting based on the delay of of Season 1 or if it was ever coming in the first place. Again, this is just based on data mining, so none of that information is official. And Temporeal has a pretty solid track record of finding all the little details in game files, but a lot of what he has found in the past has often never even come out in the game, so there's a good chance that what he's found on this map doesn't really mean all that much for future content. EA's quarterly financial call is also happening later today. Most of the time, these calls offer little more than just talking points designed to hype up the game or ease investor concerns, but sometimes we get little nuggets of valuable information. Based on today's news, it seems likely that at least some of the questions investors ask will be related to the current state of the game and DICE's projections for its future. It's an impossible question for the company to ignore at this point, and I wouldn't expect any concrete answers or firm commitments from EA during this call. Now, for anybody that remembers and really stuck around with Battlefield 5 over its development course, well, following that game's launch disaster, EA and DICE basically said that they overestimated their ability to deliver a quality title and were developing a new review process to ensure Battlefield 5's launch woes didn't repeat themselves in the future. And yet, here we are with another undeniably disastrous game launch and a looming content drought that is pretty similar to what we experienced with Battlefield 5. If you don't count Firestorm, well then Battlefield 5 released its first map, Panzerstorm, in December and didn't release its next map all the way until May, which looks like a very similar timeline for new map content injection, and it was very hard for Battlefield 5 to weather that lack of content, since again Firestorm fizzled out relatively quickly and also didn't really cater to the base game content. There wasn't much new happening for about 6 months worth of the game's life, and this was obviously disastrous to the Battlefield community at large. Now, once Battlefield 5 did start to produce content a bit more regularly, and especially after it launched its Pacific DLC, well, players were actually pretty happy with where the game was going. The Pacific DLC was a lot of fun, it brought many players back, and then DICE dropped support for the game entirely just when it felt like things were turning around. Hopefully this time around we do not have a repeat. In the past, and granted this was before the game launched, they expressed plans to support the game for years to come with future content. Hopefully that means that support for 2042 will go way beyond Season 1, so that if they do manage to right the ship, start turning things around for the game, bring the player base back on, it's not then just immediately dropped several months later. It would be nice if that support continued for quite a while, because this is just an insane pattern to repeat right after Battlefield 5. Now, any way you slice it, any way you look at it, today's news is a tough pill to swallow. Sure, I'm looking forward to seeing the new scoreboard, the VoIP feature, some of the squad interplay mechanics to increase teamwork and stuff like that, but also now knowing that I have to wait till summer till we're gonna get our first new map in the game, like, I mean, that's rough. It feels a little bit like a gut punch to a community that's barely hanging on right now, so we'll see what happens, guys. Of course, I'll be here to cover the news, the content as it comes out, review the new features and whatnot. Thanks for sticking around, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.